and welcome to this very special session today. Last week, we met one of our co-founders, Ajay Dalmia, who answered the questions from the students. Today, we are meeting Mona Dalmia, who will be answering questions from the facilitating team. So a great opportunity to get to know what drives her vision of the space. Let me introduce Mona to you, and also our the person who will be asking her all these questions, giving her all these googlies. So Mona is the driving force behind creative and educational aspects of our campus and of our learning space. She has a master's degree in education from Boston University, a bachelor's degree in education from Wheelock College, and a bachelor's degree in science from Calcutta University. She's also a Steiner certified teacher from Sacramento, California, and she has a diploma in child brain development from Pennsylvania. So for us here, the facilitating team, Mona is actually what we love to call as our homeroom. So she is the one person we will go whenever we are struck with anything, whether that that's related to learning or whether that is related to any personal thing that we might be dealing with at that time. She has traveled extensively and gaining invaluable teaching experience in USA, India, Indonesia, and Singapore. She loves reading fiction, biographies, and books on education and environment. And we know that she loves talking to kids. She just loves talking to kids. So you will find her talking to some kids somewhere, getting to know them better, helping them out with whatever issues they are facing. So today we have another amazing facilitator talking to Mona, Sarita Ragade. Sarita has been with DLRC for the longest time. Her daughter also completed her grade 12 from here, Sia Ragade. So Sarita is one person who believes that learning is a continuous process and is keen to bring sustainable practice in her work and life. And so her philosophy just marries beautifully with whatever DLRC stands for. Sarita is also, she is certified in food and nutrition and hospital administration. And she has worked for more than 25 years in retail. And she also helps an NGO manage their services and business throughout. So over to you, Sarita, to take this on and have a beautiful conversation with Mona. We are really looking forward to what Mona has to say to all our questions.
Thank you so much, Anupam. Good afternoon, everyone. And hello, Mona.
Hello, Sarita. Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure and a privilege to have this conversation with you. We'll keep it free-flowing, and there are a bunch of questions that came from facilitators, from our own team, and from other teams. And it'll be an interesting mix of questions for you. So let's go for it.
Sure.
Okay. What does a working day look like for Mona Dalmia?
A working day for me is full of work, right? So, right. Yes, people do ask me that, and I'm very happy to think about it. I do like to wake up early in the morning because that's the only time I feel like that I can have without having to talk to somebody. So now that is one reason why I've started waking up early, and then that allows me some time to sort of think about my day, meditate a bit, do some exercise, like go for a walk or do some yoga. And then I cook breakfast, and I read all my emails, I reply to my emails, I do all of that, and I look at my schedule, look at my list of things to do. This is all before 7:15, and that's when I leave for work. And then I am back home anywhere between 5 and 5:30, after which, and through the school day is just like, it can be anything, right? From lessons to meetings to attending to visitors or, doing webinars. And then after I go home, I like to unwind by cooking a good dinner and just taking care of the house, talking to my kids, and reading. And I have also, because now I've started getting up early, I've also started going to bed early. So by 9:30, I'm almost sort of done, and I feel like all I want to do is sleep. Yes.
How does your weekend look? If your week is packed this way, how does your weekend look?
how can my weekend is actually the main reason I've started waking up early on the weekends also is just the same, is that that's the only time when I don't feel obliged to talk with somebody if I don't need to, and I can have some of my space to think and do my work. So even on weekends I do wake up early and I do put in a couple of hours of work in the morning when I keep my most important work for first thing in the morning. And if I'm able to do that, I know I will be able to get through my day with ease. So I do work very rigorously on the weekends for a few hours in the morning. Then we either go for a long trek or go and do bhaji shopping and other things. I spend a lot of time with my family on the weekends because we have three parents living with us and they all require help. So, I run errands for them. I get the medicines, I take them to the doctors, I get whatever things they need. And I do my grocery shopping and all of those things. Basically, I think I like to spend my weekend getting ready for the week.
That's so much like Mona. That sounds like Mona. All right. Mona, you've been in the field of education for almost 25 years now. Share your biggest insights or your biggest takeaways from the field of education, working as an educator for so many years.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful long journey, Sarita. And I think the biggest insights, I would say, there are many insights actually. Every day there is an insight. But if you ask me for maybe just one or two, I would say first thing is that all professionals and all people in the education field need to see continuous learning as the thing for success. So that's the biggest thing, right? We think, okay, I've got a B.Ed degree, I've got an M.Ed degree, and I'm done. But it's not like that. It's just the beginning. And, so there's a whole world out there which we need to explore. And because why this is really important, because the more we do this, the more we are able to bring into our classrooms. Our classrooms are just a mirror of what we are, right? So if we are abundant in our experiences and learning opportunities, and we bring those to our kids. So I feel that's like one of the biggest things. The other thing which I often think about is in our curriculum, we often block the word environmental education as a subject. 2 periods a week, 1 period a week. But I believe that environmental education should not be put in as a subject. It is the education. It is the umbrella under which everything else should fall. David Orr says very beautifully is in his book, the ecology. What is your ecological address? Right? So what do we mean by our ecology? Everything that we're surrounded with, the nature and all of that. And our environment is our environment within us and outside of us. And very simply, if I'm facing indigestion, I can't be happy, right? So environment matters that much. And yet we give such little importance to this education, right? So I feel my biggest insight is that we really, really need to bring environment into our curriculums. And once we do that, I think a lot of things will fall in place. I know, very interestingly, I often think about this. So we do a lot of math and we do a lot of science and in SST and English and all of that, right? But what are the biggest questions we're asking our children today? What is global warming? What's climate change? Oh my God, we should save water because there's global warming. Oh my God, we should not cut trees because there's global warming. Yes, wonderful. These are all the facts, perhaps. But why should children care? They've had no connection with the nature. They have no connection with any trees. They have no connection. They don't even understand why rain happens and why rain is interconnected and interwoven into the fabric of our lives. So why should they care? So that is why environmental education is so important, because if we want the survival of the planet, then we want to understand it, no? So yeah, so I think as an educator, I feel this is so important for every educator to just really take it on.
I like what you said, ecological address. So when we begin to identify our ecological address, we get more connected with the environment. I love that. That's my takeaway from what you just said. It's a beautiful new word for me, and I think we'll discuss more about it as we go along. Now, the question that was interesting was, which education philosophy do you subscribe to? Now that you spoke of, insights, so is there a philosophy that you kind of subscribe to?
So I love reading about education. I love reading books by educators. And that is why I may have some of my favorites who are a little bit uncommon, because I've had an opportunity to read and learn about their ideas. But this one person everybody knows about, John Dewey. His philosophy, his ideas, even though they were so revolutionary in the 19th century, he lived in the early 19th century, late 19th century, 1859 onwards. And at that time, when he used to talk about the idea of education and learning being child-centric rather than curriculum-centric, many people didn't understand. Even today, we don't understand. But it is the thing, right? Education is only relevant when it means something to me. I'll only learn when it makes sense to me, when I can connect to it. If I can't do it, then why? Then it is not learning. Then it is something that somebody's telling me to do. So I really enjoy even today reading about his philosophy. Even though in my master's I wrote a whole paper. So there were both this paper, David Orr, who's written about the ecology, and John Dewey, who's written about the child-centric education, and how all learning should be integrated, and how the society and the democracy, and how society plays an integral role in our being, in our well-being, and all of that. All of these ideas are very progressive in nature. And what I particularly like about John Dewey is that it is not prescriptive. It doesn't tell us what we need to do to reach a particular place. The reason why I enjoy reading about David Orr and about John Dewey is because when I read about them, when I think about their ideas, I feel that my ideas expand further. And when I have an expansion in my thinking, I'm able to move towards creation because I'm able to put many things together. And that is the power of reading and understanding some of these philosophies at a much deeper level. Yeah.
John Dewey, of course, you have also brought that book to us at school and spoken about it during your professional development series 2 summers ago. And we had some takeaways from that, which we still use at the LRC. And you have helped us inculcate those into our practices. So John Dewey does ring a bell to me. Yeah. Okay. The journey of creation, like DLRC is a creation. Yeah. Three co-founders got together and created something as beautiful as we have today, which is thriving. It's a thriving community. The journey of creation is a journey into the unknown. Basically, you are stepping into unknown waters as on your own. Maybe education was a known field to you, but doing it all on your own is the unknown. Do you ever feel lost?
Yes, Sarita. Every day.
Yeah.
Nobody has a day planned in the sense like everything. Once you get up, everything that happens and unfolds in a day is all a strange and unplanned, right? Yes. But to answer your question, yes, I do feel lost many times. Actually, we didn't really plan the birth of DLRC, right? It happened because it was just something really organic. It happened. But once it began, there were so many decisions that need to be taken every single day. And because each decision impacts, something else and everything else, like a domino effect. So yes, I do feel lost many times. I don't have answers to all the questions. I don't have answers to all the problems. sometimes I don't have answers to even the smallest of problems because I don't know whether it is really what the other person wants to understand. When we are planning the vision for new year, whatever, yes, I feel lost. Uh, it has happened, Sarita, many times that I do feel lost, but it does come back. I mean, it's what I have also realized, that being lost is really good. Being lost makes me wonder. Being lost makes me think. And being lost, because I'm lost, because I don't have answers, I'll think more and more and more about it until I can figure something out. So yes, I do feel lost.
How do you get back on track then? Okay. How do you come back on track? Because finally you do find a solution, although you're
Yeah.
lost. So how do you get back on track?
So the thing that works for me is because we are in this lost state every day. But whatever I am unable to figure out, I go to sleep with it. And and usually that does the trick. So I don't know. I mean, there are so many theories about, when we go to sleep with a thought, that thought sort of, the brain has the power to, untangle it and things like that. I don't understand the theory at all or well at all, but it does work. And many times I have found my confusion or my lostness to unravel in the morning, and I usually have a way forward. I may not have a solution, but I do see a path. I do see a way forward in the morning, and that is why my mornings are becoming very special to me. Yeah. So that's like, it's really as simple as that. And sometimes, the problems or the lostness is a long lasting one. But because of constant thinking and because of constantly exploring the possibilities, it does come together. Yeah.
Hey. Hey. As we are hearing Mona, we're listening to Mona, we can see that she wears many hats. She's a daughter, she's a wife, a mother, a co-founder. So we are all curious to know, Mona, how do you manage to be at the top of everything, every time? And what's that one habit that makes you so efficient?
Firstly, I'm not on the top of everything. Okay. It is a perception. Okay. But even if it is a perception, I feel what really helps me is my keen listening skills. I rarely have to ask someone to repeat what they said. And how that helps me, I've been thinking about it, for some time. Some people do ask me this question similarly. And I began to used to wonder why people even ask me this question. Because, I mean, really, yeah, we have so many accomplished people in the world. But for me, my listening skills do help me in many ways. When you're a good listener, as in my case, I'm able to understand people much faster because I am 100% tuned in with them. Right? They feel I'm empathetic towards them. So I'm able to build trust factors with them. Right? Because of that, many things get solved much faster. Because, there is this give and take, and there is this trust that builds. Also, when I'm listening carefully and when I'm listening intently, my mind is already working. So if it is a problem that I'm listening to, so because the rest of the mind is all really blank, it's working actively towards solving the problem. So before we finish a conversation, I'm able to sometimes come up with a solution. So I feel listening intently is quite a habit that helps me. Plus, in addition to that, making a list of what I want to accomplish in a day has been a very good and a very effective tool for me. I like to maintain my diaries and write down what I need to get done. I love to put the ticks that I've gotten things done. I often go back and forth in my diaries. I do spend time with that. So yeah, I mean, if you say wearing so many hats, how Definitely, all of it. And then, of course, you've got the home front, right? The beautiful home front where you've got the parents and you've got the children. And we are in this sandwich generation where we've got the parents and we've got the children. And you've got to look there and here. And it does happen. I think another insight, not as an educator, but just as a human being, is that no matter where we are, at what time and what moment, if we just stay in that moment, things become so simplified, Sarita, that, I sometimes wonder what do we mean by problems? Because many times problems are self-created because we've either not heard what the other person is saying, or whether we've not stopped to see what's happening, or whether we've not stopped to think about what might be the reasons. So, yeah.
Okay, so being in the present is important,
Of
is my
course.
takeaway from this. Okay, interesting. You worked extensively, like, in the US, in Bali, in Singapore. So you have a wealth of information and, deep diving into different education systems. And very often you do mention that the US education system has some great takeaways and something that you would like to bring to the table, something that you would like to immerse into, and also have us immerse into. So something about the US system that, you would like to elaborate today?
Sure. So I would not say that the US education system is the greatest. There is no such idea in my head, but there are good takeaways from everywhere that I've been all around the world. Even when I was in Singapore, there was fabulous things, even though we understand that Singaporean system can be very conventional, but it also has its merits. American system, couple of things. One, that they don't have standardized testing as much. They don't have board exams. So, children, when they pass out of high school, it's a very different way of assessing children. And I will not say that it is the most progressive or it is what the world needs today, but at least it's not as standardized as we have it in India. Second thing that I really, really love about the American education system is the immersion in reading, and how much emphasis is given on reading is very beautiful. I love biographies, like you said. I love reading biographies. It's my escape. Like, if somebody has to ask me what do you want to escape with, I want to escape with a good biography. Right? That's how it is with me. And one of my favorite biographies is of Abraham Lincoln. And why? Abraham Lincoln is an amazing soul, right? If you were to add up all of his schooling years, they would add up to almost 1 year. That's the amount of schooling, formal education he had. He self-taught himself to read. And because of that reading habit that he got into, he learned about the world. He became the president of America, right? And we all know about the roles that he's played in that role. So, why do we really need to go to school? I mean, he defies all of that. Yes. And would reading help? Absolutely, it would. So I think that is one thing which I absolutely adore about the American system or any other system that promotes reading. I think we should bring a lot of reading into our classrooms, into the lives of children. And even if they decide not to ever go to school, that's fine. At least if they know how to read, they can self-teach themselves anything that they want to teach. Yeah.
Inculcating a reading habit is the key to higher learning, even on your own, is something that is a takeaway from here, that literacy and numeracy skills can also propel you to be a self-directed learner.
Correct.
In the coming
Absolutely,
years.
Sarita.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, while you just were speaking about the US system, you said there's no standardized testing. I'm going to ask you a question on this. If there's no standardized testing, is that a better way forward? And what do you feel about it? If you had the Jadoo ki chhadi and you had the magic wand and you could change this for all of us, what would you do?
What would I do? Okay. I would create a system where we are focusing on islands of competence rather than looking at all the people and all the students with one lens. And that is the lens of academic excellence. Right now, that is what our system is doing. And I feel that everybody has something that they can do differently or they might be good at. But yeah, so if I could recreate, I would create a school or not even a school. I mean, it should actually not even have this word school, because now schools are associated with, depending on the interpretation. I think it should be a space where, okay, maybe up till grade 8, I will leave it alone, bring more child-centric education. But I feel in high school when kids come into grade 9, something like that, to ease out the transition, I think if instead of having to prepare them for a grade 10 board exam, which luckily now our NAP is anyway eliminating, or even a grade 12 board exam, how about if by then we had a system where we could identify the island of competency? Now, what I mean by islands of competency is that each one of us can be competent in a certain role. We talk about the different types of intelligences, like the musical intelligence or the auditory or the visuals or the kinesthetic and all of that, right? Spatial. So, we know that many sports people have very highly developed spatial intelligence. That is why, like when a batsman is about to hit the ball, they can gauge from a distance how far the ball is coming, what's the speed, etc. That's all, that's all spatial understanding, isn't it? Spatial intelligence. Now, if the same person has to only prove their worth through a standardized test, through the same 5, 6, 7 subjects, it's a little bit unfair, right? Because that special intelligence is like, what good is that for that person then, if it has no value? And if the value is only through a report card that shows whatever they can do or whatever they can reproduce on a paper, I feel like this really, I would like to change that. And I would like to identify their key competent areas and then create a space where each one of them can flourish in it, right? Whether it's music or art or sports or academia, whatever they choose to, each person should be able to. Also, I think this is very important that we do that now, because we are losing a lot of our indigenous knowledge. And it is mainly because we are all moving towards a certain way, certain path. If we continue to do that this way, then we will be left with very little. So to have the robustness in our society, to have the resilience in our society, we need to go back to our roots. We need to have different types of jobs. We need to give value, equal value to each and every type of job that is needed in our society. If today my tap, this kitchen sink tap starts leaking, I won't be able to sleep at night. So every job is equally important. And I think it's time that we create these spaces where something like this is fostered, flourished, and is given equal importance. Yes.
Look forward to this change, Mona. And I hope you drive it for us. Okay. I want to now have a rapid fire question round with you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, Sarita.
So here we go. I'm going to give you 2 options, like one option or this. So give me one of the 2 that speaks like Mona, is about Mona. Okay. So let's go for this, people. Flying or driving?
Driving.
Social time or alone time?
Social time.
Introvert or extrovert?
Somewhere in between.
No, one of the 2.
Extrovert.
Physical strength or mental strength?
Mental strength.
Monsoon or winter?
Winter.
Himalayan retreat or Maldives retreat?
Himalayan retreat.
Paper bags or ebooks?
paper bags.
Dream job or win a lottery?
Say that again, sorry.
Dream job or win a lottery?
Dream job.
Child-centric or curriculum-centric?
Child-centric.
Thinker or doer? I don't mind hearing a both here. Huh? There's no or in this. When it comes to Mona, I'm answering it for you.
Thinking and then doing.
I'm answering it for you. There's no or in this. Okay. Travel into the past or into the future?
Future.
Peer learning or peer mentoring?
Couldn't understand.
Peer learning or peer mentoring?
Peer learning.
Okay. That was the rapid fire. And I want you to complete this sentence for us. Life is
yet to be explored.
That was amazing. That was amazing, Mona. That's really fun to have this rapid fire with you. We come to know so many aspects of you, which we may not have known before. And it's such a pleasure to have this fun round with you. You know, I was just kind of taking in all that you were saying for the past half an hour. And I was like, okay, I need a rapid fire now so that I'm on task again. Okay. So on the same note, you know, you've been talking about reading. I know you are an avid reader, a voracious reader. So which is that one book that you feel that every educator must read, and why?
This book, every educator must read, is called Curriculum in Abundance. It's written by David Jardine, Sharon Friesen, and Clifford. So all they came together, but mainly by Jardine. This book, I have been reading it. I was introduced to it during my MEd program, and I really appreciate that, because if I had not done my MEd, I wouldn't have been introduced to a lot of reading that I got to, and I think it really helped me. But why this book is so special? Because it talks about what abundance means. And actually, now going back, when you asked me life is, I could have just said abundant, and I would have not been wrong, because I feel blessed in that way. But this book is so important because we seem to be living in a scarcity zone. And yeah, it is true, because as educators, we are preparing our kids for a board exam. So the syllabus is limited, scarcity zone. Oh, I have so much time in which I need to get the syllabus complete, scarcity zone. Oh, the periods are only 45 minutes long. I need to get so much portion covered, scarcity zone again. Okay, well, since I have to finish the syllabus in so much time, I can only use certain methods, scarcity zone. Now, because I have so much time only, and this is not part of the syllabus, because in the board exam, so and so questions will not come, why do I need to teach about all of this? Scarcity zone. But actually, education isn't that. Actually, I believe for somebody to be educated, we really don't need schools, right? And Abraham Lincoln proved it, right? And many more people have proved it over time. So I think this is first thing is a farce. We put our children in schools and then we put them in scarcity zones. But why do we need to do that? There is so much abundance around us. And like I said earlier, if we could just bring our environment as like the key theme of our learning, everything will be abundant, right? We'll learn everything from nature. We'll learn, I don't mean like we just go and start living in forest and all. I don't mean that. What I mean is, for every topic that there is, even if you're learning about fire, to have a more interdisciplinary approach rather than seeing it in a silo. And I think looking at things in silo is a scarcity zone, which we need to now come out of. Once we read this book and once we start talking about abundance, the curriculum just opens up. There are endless possibilities to what can be done. And I think that is why this book is really important, Sarita, for everyone to read.
Thank you for mentioning this, Mona. This book has been brought to the table by you during our PD, our professional development, and the insights that you bring to the table with this book is also something that we have used in abundance, and it is working. Yeah, it is working. So thank you for mentioning this. On the same front, you are a strong advocate for continuous professional development. At the LRC also, there's a continuous process of learning that happens to build skills, to build strategies. Why do you think it's essential to have this kind of a learning? And how do you help teachers and facilitators to develop this further?
I think the first thing is that we need to learn how to empower people to take on the role of a learner. Nobody can make anybody learn something unless we want to learn, right? So that is number one. I believe that we need to remember this at all times. And this is not only true for teachers, it's true for the students also, for everybody else, even our own children for that matter, right? Because when we have our own kids, we have a certain way we want to bring them. Why I'm saying this is because it is related to our work also, right? We are just conditioned like that. My kids, I have certain ideas, I have certain dreams for them. And, we condition them in certain ways. And we focus a lot on negative scripts. We want to only improve them. But what is there to improve in a child? Because they're born with whoever they are, and we should look at their assets rather than what they're not able to do. What they're not able to do, they were never meant to do, I guess. So why bother with that? Similarly, in a workplace, continuous learning for teachers, for professionals, again, I have learned that creating an environment which promotes endless possibilities is the breeding ground for continuous learning. Let's do this. Let's try something new. We've done it. Can we try something new? Can we do it with a twist? Even posing such questions to our facilitators, to our teachers, encourages everyone to want to learn. This dialogue is so critical to have that healthy ideas flowing all the time. And when healthy ideas are flowing all the time, when new ideas are flowing, or even if old ideas are flowing, we are able to explore. And when there is an exploration situation, then everybody's learning. Exploration is all about learning, right? So how do I do it? I don't do it alone. Nobody can do anything alone. I think it is always a group effort. What I really enjoy doing working at the LRC, especially, is the amount of brainstorming that we are able to do with different people, right? So sometimes there's an idea, but then, okay, we'll talk with the other 3-4 different people, and that idea becomes a little bit more concrete. And, then somebody will pour in. So it becomes that ghada, and then somebody will pour in different types of liquids in it, and, it will become precious. So I think I see what I'm able to see is by doing certain things, or by bringing certain elements into the learning or within our professional development, how it can further help in the development of our faculty. I think that helps. That helps. And I don't believe that there is a need to bring in new ideas all the time. I believe a lot in immersion. So even if it is one idea that we take, but we take it at a deeper level, it will automatically create an environment of learning, continuous learning, right? Because once a teacher is able to see for themselves how learning can be, or what a learning can mean to somebody, then they're able to do that in their classrooms, right? And that is why I believe that continuous learning for teachers is very important, because that's exactly what they will do in their classrooms. Yeah.
So even a growth mindset,
Yes.
having that openness to learning itself is the starting point. And then as you learn more with that growth mindset, you can expand your own horizons with that.
Correct. Absolutely.
And the same can be replicated in the classroom. That's a wonderful thought. That's a beautiful thought. Okay. I'm sure we all agree. The last 2 years has been a big learning lesson for all of us. on different fronts. We have all gone through the tumult. There have been life-changing moments. And over time, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that we have built resilience. As an individual, as a community, as a family, we have built that resilience.
Yes.
So what does that resilience mean to you?
This is such a beautiful question, Sarita, and thank you for asking, because it is my favorite word of all, resilience. I must be mentioning this word resilience at least 10 times a day. I think everybody must have nicknamed me resilient by now. I often think, what can be worse than a pandemic? I remember 23rd March, right? 2 years back, when everybody's life changed overnight just by one announcement that we're going into a lockdown, right? And then what? So life changed. So many new things, right? So many adversities. Life has changed. We can't step out of a house. We have to live with what we have. Oh my God, the grocery stores are open. Let's all rush and collect and get groceries worth the whole year, and then get them infested by the germs or the cockroaches. So, I'm sure all of us had a very, very steep learning curve throughout this whole pandemic, correct? But I feel if we could survive that, what's left to not survive on? I feel pandemics in human races must be very, very hard. I often think of resilience as, when we think of resilience, I think of 2-3 different things. One, you've all heard about Anne Frank, right? Who is this girl, Anne Frank? We know, right? She lived during the German rule and all of that. We know who's Anne Frank. Do you know, in her diary, even though she was in the hideaway, she writes very beautiful words. She writes, I feel free. I feel young. I feel strong. There is nothing in this world that I would bow to easily, more easily than other people would. Now imagine this girl who's living in this hideout for like the longest time, and then she's writing a diary. What is this thing about her? What hope did she have in her life, right? And yet she was so hopeful, right? Then when I think about resilience, I think about forests. Why just forests? We think about rivers, right? Whenever a river encounters an obstacle, it will find its own way. It's resilience, right? Okay, then I think about forests. Who doesn't know about forest fires, right? But then when a forest gets burned, how can it regenerate, right? So when a forest is completely burned and it regenerates, the whole idea is actually called ecological succession. So it's a very scientific thing, because when a forest burns, whatever is on the ground actually burns. What's under the ground doesn't burn usually, because the roots are under the ground. And some plants have stronger roots, so they survive. Now, think of this little oak tree nut, which is called
Acorns.
Acorn. Thank you. So the acorns, right? Now, it's a really small nut. And what is it? It's actually a flower of an oak tree that contains the seed of a new plant, but it is enveloped in a very hard shell, right? And now this hard shell, so oak trees, they're always shedding their acorns, and the squirrels, we know, they love to collect the acorns and all of that. But when there is a forest fire and everything burns, right? Even the acorns burn. But you know what happens? When they burn, they need that burning to sprout a new tree. That's because their hard shell can only be burst open through this hot temperatures and the hard fires. So, I feel we think about challenges in such a negative way. Oh my God, a challenge, my life is doomed, I'm doomed. But if we just change our outlook to, every time we face an adverse situation, it is time for us to grow in our capacity. Right. So resilience is what? Resilience is in very scientific way, resilience, it means bouncing back. Something has happened which was not good, right? But now what? We need to come back. right? We can't sit in just one corner and cry our eyes out for the rest of our lives. So that ability, we really need to get inspired by nature and see how many times it gets crushed and yet it comes back. That is how we should be. And I also think if we begin to look at our problems with a different lens, a problem is not a problem, but it is our inability to deal with it. That is why it's a problem. So for example, a very, very simple example can be, if you look at class 4 students, right? One child may be writing beautiful essays because they have the skills and the ability and whatever. And there's the next kid sitting next to them finds writing as the most challenging exercise that they've ever done. And it's a problem, and how do they deal with it? But what actually is it? It is the amount of exposure that this kid has had with writing, maybe the muscle strength, right? Maybe the skill level, all of it, right? So what does it mean? If you want to overcome that problem, you have to build your skills to overcome that problem. If I want to summit Mount Everest, I have to build my calf muscles. Only then I will be able to summit Mount Everest, right? So it's just how we look at things. And that is the difference between people who are resilient and people who aren't.
Wow. I love the acorn story because I had no idea that it needed the heat, not even warmth, the heat of a forest fire to actually, bloom and blossom into a fine oak tree. Well, that's a beautiful analogy that you've taken. So thank you for doing that, Mina. And as we're almost coming to the close of our wonderful conversation, and I have so many more questions, there's one that, we will end this webinar with. We spoke so much of education. We know that this is something that's close to your heart. This is where you want to be. This is what you want to do, being an educator, being an academician, being a continuous learner. But still we want to know, if you didn't take up this profession, what would be your profession and why?
If I had known about the Indian Administrative Services when I was within my eligible age group, I would have given my IAS exams and become an administrative servant. I would have really liked that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting and sad about it or anything, but yes, if I had an alternate career, I would probably be in the education ministry and trying to drive some change from there. Yeah.
Let's look forward to it, Purna. Let's hope somewhere the universe is hearing you and we go in that direction and you actually drive change at that level. Starting with standardized testing. You said it in your conversation today. So we'll keep that in mind. That'll be first on the agenda for all of us. Oh, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation, Mona.
Thanks, Sarita.
And, getting to know various facets of Mona, something that she holds dear to her heart. It's been so lovely, including your very interesting answers during the rapid fire. It was fun listening to you. And I think there are many takeaways for all of us as educators, as facilitators, as co-learners, as people who look up to you for help, guidance, listening ear, which you always have for all of us. So thank you so much, Mona, for this wonderful conversation. It has been an absolute pleasure, asking you these questions and, getting the insights that you had to share with us today. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, Sarita. I absolutely enjoyed this conversation.
Absolutely. Same, I reciprocate. Anupam?
Yeah, thank you so much to both of you. It was a delightful conversation to hear also, sitting here in this amazing campus of ours, which is born out of the vision of Mona, Ajay and Pawan. So thanks for creating this space and thanks for this beautiful conversation. And thanks for all our attendees for joining us today. For those who are watching us on Facebook, do join in. We have in another fortnight a session with Pawan, who is our third co-founder, the third part of this triangle, and this beautiful strong triangle. And he will be fielding questions from the parents. So, so they're taking care of each side of the triangle, each side of the community stakeholders. So thank you so much, Mona and Sarita, and thank you to our attendees, and keep watching our space for more such discussions. I think there is one question, question or a comment. Sarita, would you read that out?
This was a wonderful session. With her hard work and fantastic vision, I'm sure Mona ma'am will continue to inspire change in everyone as she did for me. And thank you to Sarita ma'am for being an excellent interviewer. Thank you so much, Sia. Sia is alumnus of DLRC. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yes.
And one of maybe the first 50 children on the campus. So yes, she's grown with you all, and I think it's lovely to have you here, Sia, today. And to all the people who have attended, thank you so much. Thank you, Anupam, for this opportunity. And thank you, Mona.
Thank you, Sarita. Thank you, Anupam. Thank you,
Good day and
DLRC.
happy Holi to everybody.
Yes.
Have a nice weekend, amazing weekend. Okay.
Thank you.